it wasn't always beautiful. You had some low points in the early days.
Yeah.
And you had a moment where I saw where you had like a rent check.
Yeah.
A lot of, and let's be real, a lot of people have that experience. What was like at that point, were you a person of faith and you were working through it? Was that something that did the faith thing come later? Like, how did faith help with the low points, or like I said, or was faith not in the equation at that point?
Yeah. It was always, thankfully, I have a heritage of faith. The school I went to, I mentioned, right, private Christian school. The church we went to was like on property. So I was like 7 days a week, 12 hours a day at that place. My dad was an elder. My mom, spoke or sang on the worship team. We were always there. So that was always, no, certainly I had my wanderings and my own, coming to my own faith, but it was always a piece of that. And so kind of two parts to your question there. I remember, so I always tithed, and then I knew there was generosity beyond giving 10% back to your church. And so I remember I went to a fundraiser one time that my dad invited me to, and I was probably 22, like a couple of years into being a financial advisor. Certainly didn't have a book of business that was producing regular income. It would come in fits and spurts. And frankly, part of that was my own lack of discipline, where I would make 10 or 15 grand in a month and then take a month off and go on vacation. And, that has its own challenges. But I remember I went to this event, and, it was these people that were serving as missionaries in like Siberia, in Russia, like villages, long, like airplane rides, like long ways away from any civilization. So they were raising money. And so I was like, well, I need to support these people. Like I get to be here in America and run a business and build wealth. Like I need to be able to support. So I committed to giving, and I don't remember what it was. It was probably $300 a month, which, at that point, that was like my rent. So that was a good chunk. And in my mind, I'm like, I don't have more than $1,000 in my bank account. I'm committing to this. But like what I reconciled in my mind, Frank, was faith.